The stars glittered like diamonds against the black void of space. Admiral Krell stood on the bridge of his massive ship, his 6 eyes blinking in sequence as he watched the holographic displays. The blue planet called Earth rotated slowly in, the center of the largest screen. "How long have they existed?" Krell asked, his scaled fingers tapping against the metal railing. The science officer, a smaller Zeveran with pale green skin, consulted his datapad. "Their civilization is young, Admiral. They achieved spaceflight less than 200 years ago. Their colonies extend only to the nearby planets in their system and 3 stars beyond." Krell nodded, satisfied. The Zavoran Empire had conquered over 30 species across the galaxy. Their military had not known defeat in 300 cycles. Humans would be no different. "Begin the standard approach," Krell ordered. "Take their outer settlements first, then work inward. Study their responses, and adapt our tactics. The Emperor expects this system to be secured within 1 standard month." The bridge crew moved with perfect coordination, each member linked partially to the others through the hive mind technology that made the Zeveran military so effective. They thought as one, adapted as one, fought as one. It was their greatest strength. "Victory probability?" Krell asked. The tactical officer seated at a curved console didn't hesitate. "Based on their technology level and military capabilities, 98.7% chance of complete victory, Admiral." Krell's mouth stretched in what passed for a smile among his kind. "Prepare the invasion fleet." On Neptune's largest moon Triton, the warning, sirens wailed. Red emergency lights bathed the corridors of Outpost Trident in an eerie glow. The colony housed only 500 people, mostly scientists and miners, who extracted rare gases from the moon's thin atmosphere. Sam Miller, head of security, ran through the crowded hallway toward the command center. People pressed against the walls to let him pass, their faces tight with fear. "What do we know?" Sam asked as he burst into the control room. Jane Porter, the colony director, pointed to the main screen. "They appeared at the edge of our sensor, range 20 minutes ago. 5 ships unlike anything we've seen before." The vessels on the screen moved with unnatural precision, as if choreographed. They were dark, almost organic in shape, with no visible engines or weapons. "Have they responded to communications?" Sam asked, already knowing the answer. Jane shook her head. "Nothing. We've tried all frequencies. Earth Command is sending reinforcements, but they're 3 days out at best." Sam studied the alien ships. "What about the defense grid?" "Online. But these readings..." Jane pulled up another screen showing energy signatures. "Their shields are beyond anything in our database. I don't think our weapons will even scratch them." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Outpost Trident had been designed as a scientific base, not a military stronghold. Its defenses were basic at best. "We need to evacuate," Sam said finally. "Get everyone to the emergency shuttles. Maybe we can..." The entire station shuddered. Lights flickered and several screens went dark. "They're inside our perimeter," Jane whispered, her face pale in the dim light. "How did they move so fast?" Another tremor, stronger this time. Warning indicators flashed across the remaining screens. "Hull breach in sectors 3 and 7, reported the systems officer, his fingers flying over the controls. "They didn't even fire weapons, they just cut through." Sam grabbed the station-wide comm. "All personnel evacuate immediately. This is not a drill. Proceed to emergency shuttles. Security teams to defensive positions." He turned to Jane. "Get to Shuttle Bay 2. Take as many as you can and head for Titan Base. Someone needs to warn them about what's happening here." Jane hesitated. "What about you?" Sam checked his sidearm. "Someone needs to buy you time." Admiral Krell watched the feed from the assault team's cameras. The humans ran before his troops, disorganized and frightened. Some tried to fight back with primitive projectile weapons that couldn't penetrate Zeveran battle armor. "Resistance is minimal, as expected," reported the ground commander. "We've secured their command center and data cores. Downloading their information now." Krell nodded. "Casualties?" "None, Admiral. Their weapons are ineffective against our shields." "And the humans?" There was a slight pause. 47 eliminated, 132 captured for study. The rest escaped on transport vessels. Krell wasn't concerned about the escapees. They would only spread fear to the other colonies, making the next conquest easier. What have we learned from their data? He asked. The science officer stepped forward. Their military is fragmented, organized by geographic regions they call countries. Their technology is primitive compared to ours, though they've made surprising advances in some areas. They have orbital defense platforms around their home, planet and larger colonies, but nothing our ships can't handle. Krell studied the humans visible on the screen. They looked fragile, with their soft skin and simple clothing, yet something about them made him uneasy. In his long career, he had learned to trust his instincts. There's something not in their data, he said. Something they're hiding. The science officer looked confused. The data cores appear intact. Admiral, we have their full military profiles, defense systems, colony locations. Perhaps, Krell murmured. Continue as planned. Next target is their settlement on the planet they call Mars. As the bridge crew carried out his orders, Krell continued to watch the captured humans. One in particular caught his attention. A male who, despite being wounded, maintained an intense stare of defiance. Unlike the others, this human didn't show fear. Bring that one for special interrogation, Krell ordered, pointing to the screen. The human was Sam Miller, though Krell didn't know his name yet. As the guards dragged him away, Sam looked directly into the camera, almost as if he could see Krell watching. You have no idea what you've started, Sam said, his words translated by the Zeveran computers. Krell dismissed the comment as the empty bravado of a defeated enemy. His empire had heard such threats before from dozens of species now extinct or enslaved. Victory was certain. It always had been. On Earth, in a highly secure room deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, General Frank Daniels slammed his fist onto the conference table. Neptune gone. Triton outpost fallen. The alien fleet is moving toward Mars, he growled. Our conventional forces can't stop them. The 5 other people in the room remained silent. They represented Earth's most powerful nations, brought together by a threat greater than their old rivalries. The Zeverans, as they call themselves, are moving systematically, continued General Daniels, bringing up a holographic map of the solar system. They're testing our responses, learning our tactics. And they're linked somehow. They adapt instantly, as if they share a single mind. Maria Garcia, Director of Special Weapons, spoke up. Standard tactics won't work against them. We need something they can't predict. The Pantheon program, said a quiet voice from the end of the table. All heads turned toward Dr. Paul Wright, the civilian scientist who had rarely spoken during these meetings. Those soldiers were deemed too dangerous, objected Admiral Rick Johnson. Too unpredictable, too violent. We locked them away for good reasons. Dr. Wright nodded slowly. Yes, unpredictable. Exactly what we need now. General Daniels stared at the holographic display, watching as another human outpost went dark. They were running out of options. Wake them up, he ordered finally. All of them. Beneath the Rocky Mountains, in a facility known only to a handful of people, Dr. Paul Wright walked down a long corridor. The walls were plain gray concrete, lit by harsh white lights. The air smelled of antiseptic and metal. Behind him, General Daniels struggled to keep pace. Are you sure about this, Doctor? These soldiers were locked away for good reasons. Paul didn't slow down. I created the Pantheon program, General. I know exactly what these men and women are capable of. And right now, their particular skills are exactly what Earth needs. They stopped at a massive steel door. Paul placed his hand on a scanner, then leaned forward for a retinal scan. The door slid open with a soft hiss. Inside was a large circular room. 50 cryopods lined the walls, each containing a sleeping figure. In the center of the room was a command station with multiple screens. Welcome to Olympus, Paul said quietly. Home of the gods of war. General Daniels looked around, his expression uneasy. They don't look like much. That was the point, Paul replied. The perfect soldiers don't look special. They blend in. But each person in this room has been modified to be stronger, faster and smarter than regular humans. He walked to the nearest pod and wiped frost from the small window. Inside was a woman with short dark hair and a thin scar running down her cheek. This is Lisa Garcia, former Special Forces. Survived alone for 3 weeks behind enemy lines during the African Resource War. Killed 27 enemy soldiers using only a knife and items she scavenged. Paul moved to the next pod. John Baker, expert in demolitions and trap making, once took down an entire enemy base by himself by turning their own security systems against them. I've read their files, Daniel said impatiently. What makes them different from our regular special forces? Paul turned to face the general. Regular soldiers follow orders and tactics. They think in patterns. That's why the Zeverans are beating us. They recognize and adapt to patterns. The Pantheon soldiers are different. They're creative, unpredictable. They don't follow standard tactics. He tapped on a computer console, bringing up brain scan images. We enhanced their natural abilities, but we also modified how they think. Each one processes battlefield information differently. Together, they're chaos given form. Daniels frowned. You're talking about them like they're weapons, not people. They're both, Paul said simply. And right now they're our only hope. He pressed a button on the console. The pods began to glow with soft blue light. Waking sequence initiated, announced a computerized voice. Estimated time to full consciousness, 3 hours. Mars colony shook as another explosion hit its outer dome. Red dust rained down from the ceiling of the main habitat, coating everything in a fine powder. Commander Pete Evans coughed and wiped dirt from his tactical screen. Status report. His second-in-command, Linda Hayes, looked up from her station. Eastern defense grid is down. Northern and western grids at 30% power. We have multiple breaches in the agricultural dome. And the civilians? Pete asked. Evacuation is at 60%. But the Zeveran ships are targeting our launch bays. 3 shuttles got away before they focused their fire. Pete studied the tactical map. Mars Colony was the largest human settlement outside Earth, home to over 15,000 people. It wasn't just a scientific outpost. It was a symbol of humanity's first true step into the stars, and it was falling. What about Earth reinforcements? He asked, though he already knew the answer. Linda shook her head. Still 18 hours out, we won't last that long. Pete watched the alien ships on the screen. They moved with that same unnatural coordination that had been reported from Neptune and Europa. 5 large vessels and dozens of smaller craft, all acting as parts of a single organism. They're learning our defense patterns, he muttered. Every time we adapt, they counter almost instantly. A young officer ran into the command center, his uniform covered in dust and what looked like blood. Sir, the aliens have breached the main plaza. They're inside the colony. Pete grabbed his sidearm. Seal all interior sections. Fall back to defensive position Delta. As his remaining officers carried out the orders, Pete turned to Linda. Get to the secure comm center. Send everything we have on these aliens back to Earth. All our combat footage, sensor readings, everything. Maybe someone can find a weakness. Linda hesitated. What about you? Pete checked his weapon. I'll buy you some time. Admiral Krell watched the battle from his command ship. The human colony on Mars was putting up more resistance than expected, but the outcome was never in doubt. Their tactics are improving, noted his second-in-command. They're learning. Not fast enough, Krell replied. How many ships escaped the colony? 3, Admiral. Small transport vessels. Minimal weapons. They're heading toward Earth. Krell considered this. Let them go. They'll spread fear, which will work in our favor. A communication officer approached. Admiral, we've completed our analysis of the human prisoner from Triton. Krell turned. What did you learn? The officer handed him a data pad. The human military is more diverse than we initially thought. They have an elite force they call special operators who undergo intensive training. They're more effective than their standard soldiers. Are they a threat to our operations? Krell asked. Negative, Admiral. While more skilled, they still use predictable tactics. Our hive mind adaptation counters them effectively. Krell nodded, satisfied. Prepare for the final assault on the Mars colony. I want it secured within 6 hours. On Earth, the first of the Pantheon soldiers stepped out of their cryopods. Lisa Garcia rolled her shoulders and stretched, her enhanced muscles quickly regaining full function. How long? She asked, her voice rough from disuse. 3 years, 2 months, Paul answered. Lisa nodded, unsurprised. Why wake us? General Daniels stepped forward. We're being invaded by an alien species called the Zeverans. They've already taken our outposts on Neptune and Europa. Mars colony is under attack now. John Baker emerged from his pod, immediately alert. Military capabilities? Far beyond ours, Daniels admitted. And they have some kind of hive mind, technology. They adapt instantly to our tactics. A thin smile spread across Lisa's face. So you need soldiers who don't use normal tactics. We need you, Paul confirmed. Around the room, the other Pantheon soldiers were waking up. Unlike regular troops who would be disoriented after long cryosleep, these enhanced warriors were already assessing the situation, processing information. Show us what we're up against, Lisa said. Paul brought up the battle footage from Neptune and the current feeds from Mars. The soldiers watched in silence, studying the alien movements and weapons. They think as one, observed John. That's their strength. And their weakness, added Lisa. They won't understand how we think, because we don't think alike. She turned to General Daniels. When do we deploy? 12 hours, he replied. We're preparing a stealth ship to get you to Mars. Too late, said John, pointing to the screen showing Mars colony. Look, the Zeveran ships had broken through the colony's final defenses. The human settlement was falling. Then we go to Earth's orbital defenses, Lisa decided, and we prepare a proper welcome for these aliens when they come for the home planet. For the first time since the invasion began, General Daniels felt a flicker of hope. These weren't just soldiers, they were hunters, and they looked eager for the fight. The last refugee ships from Mars limped toward Earth's defensive line. Their hulls were scorched from near misses, and several had visible damage from Zeveran weapons. Inside, the survivors huddled together, many still in shock from what they had witnessed. Earth's orbital defense platforms rotated to face outward, their weapons ready. Behind them, military ships formed a protective barrier, gathered from every nation on the planet. Old enemies now stood together against a common threat. On the command ship USS Liberty, General Daniels watched the refugees dock at the medical stations. How many made it out, he asked quietly. Just over 3,000, Lisa Garcia replied, standing beside him. Out of 15,000 colonists. General Daniels closed his eyes briefly. And the Zeverans? 6 hours behind, according to our long-range sensors. They're moving methodically, not rushing. They think they have all the time in the world. They're confident, John Baker added, studying the tactical display. And why shouldn't they be? They haven't lost a single ship yet. The Pantheon soldiers had been brought directly to the Liberty after waking. All 50 of them were now spread throughout Earth's defenses, each placed where their unique skills could be best used. Will your plan work? Daniels asked. Lisa glanced at John, then back to the general. We've never fought aliens before, but we've studied their tactics from the Mars and Neptune footage. They rely on patterns and logic. We need to show them something they've never seen. Chaos, John said with a thin smile. Pure human chaos. Admiral Krell stood before the Emperor's hologram, his head bowed in respect. The human colony on the Red Planet has fallen, my Emperor. Their defenses were more substantial than at the outer settlements, but still no match for our forces. The Emperor's 6 eyes blinked slowly. Casualties? Minimal, my Emperor. We lost 2 small craft to unexpected tactics, but nothing significant. These humans are resourceful, then? Krell hesitated. They adapt quickly for a non-hive species. Each battle, they try new approaches. Do they threaten our victory? The Emperor asked, his tone sharpening. No, my Emperor. Their technology is inferior and their military forces are fragmented. Victory remains certain. We will reach their home planet within 6 hours. The Emperor's hologram flickered. Complete this conquest quickly, Admiral. Other systems await our attention. As the hologram faded, Krell turned to his science officer. What have we learned from the Mars colony data cores? Their home planet has more substantial defenses, Admiral. Orbital platforms with energy weapons, a fleet of military vessels. Their weaponry is more advanced than what we encountered so far. Krell considered this. But still no match for our ships? Correct, Admiral. Our simulations give us a 94.3% chance of victory. The tactical officer approached. Admiral, we've detected unusual movement among the human fleet. They're repositioning in a pattern we haven't observed before. Krell studied the tactical display. Analyze and adapt. Prepare the fleet for the final approach to Earth. Lisa Garcia. Floated in zero gravity, making final adjustments to an orbital defense platform. Her enhanced strength allowed her to work without powered tools, twisting metal components with her bare hands. Control, this is Platform 7, she spoke into her comm. Modifications complete. Confirmed, 7, came the reply. Return to Liberty. Lisa pushed off from the platform using her suit's thrusters to guide herself back to the waiting shuttle. As she flew, she could see Earth below, blue and white and beautiful. Worth fighting for. Inside the shuttle, John Baker was waiting with 3 other Pantheon soldiers. All set? He asked as she strapped in. Lisa nodded. Platforms 1 through 7 are modified. The others? All done, confirmed a woman named Kate Brown. She had been a sniper before joining the Pantheon program, known for making shots that should have been impossible. Now we wait. Not for long, said John, checking his tablet. Zeveran fleet is approaching the lunar orbit, right on schedule. The shuttle pilot called back to them. We've got orders to dock at Liberty, then you're all transferring to the strike vessels. Lisa looked at her fellow soldiers. Everyone clear on the plan? They nodded. Unlike regular military units that might need constant communication and reassurance, these enhanced warriors understood their roles perfectly. Each would fight their own way, creating the unpredictable chaos they hoped would confuse the hive-minded aliens. This goes against everything in standard military doctrine, John commented with a slight smile. That's the point, Lisa replied. Standard doctrine isn't working against them. Admiral Krell watched as Earth grew larger on the main view screen. The blue planet was surrounded by defensive platforms and ships, arranged in a formation his tactical officers were still trying to understand. Their deployment is unusual, reported the tactical officer. They've positioned their vessels in an inefficient pattern. Explain, Krell demanded. Some ships are exposed without supporting cover. Others are grouped too closely. It doesn't match any known defensive strategy. Krell's unease grew. What about their orbital platforms? Also strangely positioned, and we're detecting power fluctuations in several of them. They may be malfunctioning, or they've been modified. Krell said softly, prepare for unexpected tactics. The Zeveran fleet moved forward in perfect formation, 50 large warships surrounded by hundreds of smaller craft. They had conquered dozens of worlds with this approach, overwhelming enemies with coordinated attacks that adapted instantly to any defense. We are within range of their weapons, announced the tactical officer. Krell stood straight, mandibles twitching slightly. Begin the attack pattern. Target their orbital platforms first, then their largest ships. The Zeveran fleet moved as one, weapons charging. But before they could fire, something unexpected happened. 3 of Earth's defense platforms suddenly ignited their thrusters, something they weren't designed to do. The massive structures accelerated directly toward the Zeveran fleet. Evasive. Action, Krell ordered, but it was too late. The platforms didn't fire weapons. Instead, they exploded, creating a massive electromagnetic pulse that washed over the front line of his fleet. Instantly, 20 Zeveran ships went dark, their systems overloaded. What was that? Krell demanded. Why would they sacrifice their defensive positions? Before his officers could respond, a new alert sounded. Small, fast human vessels were emerging from behind Earth's moon, approaching from an angle the Zeverans hadn't protected. Those ships weren't on our scans, the tactical officer reported, confusion evident in his voice. They must have been hiding. Krell watched in growing alarm as the human ships ignored standard attack patterns. Each one moved differently, some recklessly fast, others hanging back to snipe at Zeveran weak points. There was no coordination, no discernible pattern to analyze and counter. "Admiral," the science officer called out, "we're detecting unusual energy readings from those human ships. They've modified their weapons somehow." On the tactical display, Krell saw something unprecedented. 3 Zeveran cruisers erupting in flames as the strange human weapons found weaknesses in their shields. "Impossible," he whispered. For the first time in his long military career, Admiral Krell felt a new sensation. He struggled to identify it at first, then realized what it was. Fear. "They're not fighting like any species we've encountered," his second-in-command said, voice trembling. "Each ship fights differently. We can't adapt fast enough." Krell stared at the chaos unfolding before him. The perfectly ordered battle he had expected was instead a swirling, unpredictable storm. And at the center of that storm were humans, a species that should have been easy to conquer. "Reform the fleet," he ordered. "Fall back to lunar orbit and regroup." For the first time in 300 cycles, a Zeveran fleet was retreating. Victory was no longer certain. Admiral Krell paced the bridge of his flagship, hands clasped behind his back. Around him, his officers worked frantically to repair damaged systems and analyze what had gone wrong. The Zeveran fleet had retreated to the far side of Earth's moon, regrouping after their unexpected defeat. "Report," Krell demanded. The tactical officer looked up from his console. "We lost 17 vessels, Admiral. 23 more are damaged but repairable." "And the humans?" "They lost 5 ships and 2 defense platforms, but..." The officer hesitated. "Speak freely," Krell ordered. "The humans didn't fight according to any known military doctrine, Admiral. Each of their ships used different tactics. Some deliberately damaged their own engines to create energy pulses. Others flew directly at our vessels on suicide runs, then veered away at the last moment. Our predictive systems couldn't adapt fast enough." Krell stopped pacing. "Show me the human commander." The main screen flickered to life, showing footage captured during the battle. A female human stood on the bridge of their command ship, giving orders. She moved with unusual speed and precision. Next to her was a male, studying tactical displays, with intense focus. "Magnify," Krell ordered. The image zoomed in on the female's face. Her eyes were different from other humans they had encountered, sharper, more focused. She moved differently too, every gesture efficient and precise. "She's enhanced," the science officer said, stepping forward. "Biological modifications, the male too." Krell felt his unease grow. "Are all their soldiers like this?" "No, Admiral. Most of the humans we captured from Mars and the outer colonies showed no signs of enhancement. These must be special warriors." Krell thought back to the prisoner from Triton, who had warned him without fear. Now he understood why. "How many of these enhanced humans do they have?" The science officer consulted his data. "Unknown, but based on energy readings and combat patterns, we estimate no more than 50 vessels were piloted by such individuals." 50, Krell repeated. Just 50 enhanced humans had dealt the Zeveran Empire its first defeat in centuries. He turned to his second-in-command. "Prepare a new battle strategy. Target those special ships first. Once they're eliminated, the rest of their fleet will fall into predictable patterns." Lisa Garcia stood in the war room aboard the USS Liberty, surrounded by military leaders from around the world. The first battle had been won, but everyone knew the Zeverans would return. "They're adapting," she said, pointing to the tactical display showing the alien fleet. "They're regrouping behind the moon, analyzing our tactics." "Can they counter what we did?" asked Admiral Ben Willis, representing the North American Alliance. John Baker shook his head. "Not completely. The beauty of our approach is its unpredictability. Each Pantheon soldier fights differently, but they'll try to identify and target us specifically now." General Daniels nodded. "How long before they attack again?" 6 hours, maybe less, Lisa estimated. "We hurt them, but most of their fleet is intact." The room fell silent as everyone considered their options. Earth's defenses had been damaged in the battle. They couldn't rely on the same tricks twice. We need to take the fight to them, Lisa said finally. A strike team, directly against their command ship. The military leaders exchanged looks of disbelief. You want to board an alien vessel? Admiral Willis asked. That's suicide. Not for us, John replied calmly. The Pantheon soldiers were designed for exactly this kind of mission. Impossible odds, unpredictable situations. Lisa pointed to the largest Zeveran ship on the display. Their entire fleet operates with a hive mind connection. That ship is the central hub. If we can disrupt it, even temporarily, their coordination will falter. How would you even get aboard? General Daniels asked. Lisa smiled, but there was no warmth in it. We have Zeveran ships we disabled. Kate's team is studying them now. We'll use one to approach under the guise of returning to the fleet. It's reckless, Admiral Willis objected. It's human, Lisa countered. Reckless, creative, unpredictable. Everything the Zeverans don't understand. 6 hours later, a damaged Zeveran scout ship drifted toward the alien fleet. Inside, Lisa, John, and 8 other Pantheon soldiers wore salvaged Zeveran armor over their combat suits. The alien armor was too large for human bodies, making them look bulky and awkward. Approaching their defensive perimeter, said Kate Brown, who was piloting the vessel. Her enhanced reflexes made her the perfect choice, despite never having flown an alien ship before. Everyone clear on the plan? Lisa asked. The other soldiers nodded. Unlike regular special forces who might rehash the plan repeatedly, these enhanced warriors needed only to hear it once. Communication silence from here on, John reminded them. We can't risk them detecting human transmissions. The stolen ship continued its approach. Through the viewports, they could see the massive Zeveran fleet preparing for another assault on Earth. Hundreds of ships arranged in perfect formation, waiting for the order to attack. Kate guided their vessel toward the flagship, a massive craft, nearly 5 times larger than the others. As they approached, the ship's automatic systems took over, pulling them into a docking bay. Here we go, Lisa whispered as the ship settled onto the deck with a gentle thud. Outside, Zeveran crew members approached to assist what they thought was a returning scout ship. The docking bay was busy with activity as the aliens prepared for battle. Now, Lisa ordered. The airlock opened and the Pantheon soldiers burst out, weapons firing. Their guns had been modified based on captured Zeveran technology, designed to overwhelm the aliens' energy shields. The Zeverans in the docking bay fell before they could sound an alarm, but the team knew their advantage wouldn't last long. The hive mind would alert the entire ship within minutes. Move, Lisa commanded, leading the way toward the ship's central core. They had memorized the layout from scans taken during the battle. They encountered resistance almost immediately. Zeveran soldiers emerged from corridors, their weapons charged. But the Pantheon soldiers moved with enhanced speed, dodging energy blasts that would have vaporized normal humans. John threw a modified grenade that erupted in a pulse of energy, disrupting the Zeveran's neural links temporarily. The aliens stumbled, suddenly unable to coordinate their attacks. This way, Kate called, pointing down a side corridor. Faster route to the command center. The team followed, engaging in brief, violent skirmishes with Zeveran defenders. Their modified weapons and unpredictable tactics kept the aliens off balance. No 2 Pantheon soldiers fought the same way. Lisa used speed and precision. John relied on overwhelming force. Kate made impossible shots around corners and through narrow gaps. They're adapting, John warned as they approached the central core. The Zeveran defenders were becoming more organized, their tactics changing to counter the humans' approach. Then we changed too, Lisa replied. She made a series of hand signals, and the team immediately split into 3 groups, each taking a different route. On the bridge, Admiral Krell received urgent reports of intruders. Humans? He asked in disbelief. Here? Yes, Admiral, his security chief confirmed. They've breached multiple sectors. They're heading for the central core. How many? 10, Admiral. But they're fighting like no humans we've encountered. They must be from the same enhanced group we saw commanding their fleet. Krell felt that unfamiliar sensation again. Fear. These humans were bringing chaos to his perfect ship, disrupting the ordered precision that was the Zeveran way. Lock down the core, he ordered, and prepare the fleet for immediate attack on Earth. We must strike now, before they can interfere further. But as he gave the order, the lights on the bridge flickered. Moments later, the tactical displays went dark. What's happening? Krell demanded. His officers worked frantically at their stations. The central core is under attack, Admiral. Our neural network is experiencing disruptions. For the first time in his life, Admiral Krell felt truly afraid. The humans had brought their chaos right to the heart of his ship, and he didn't know how to fight them. Victory, once certain, now seemed very far away. The central core of the Zeveran flagship glowed with an eerie blue light. Massive computers lined the walls, connected by pulsing energy conduits. This was the heart of the hive mind system that made the alien fleet so deadly. Lisa Garcia crouched behind a barricade, energy blasts sizzling past her head. Across the room, John Baker provided covering fire while Kate Brown worked to bypass the security systems on the main console. How much longer? Lisa called out. 2 minutes, Kate replied, her enhanced fingers moving with blurring speed over the alien controls. Their encryption is adapting, but so am I. The other Pantheon soldiers had formed a defensive perimeter around the core room. The sounds of battle echoed through the corridors as more Zeveran troops converged on their position. They're coming. From all sides now, John warned. Whatever you're doing, do it faster. Lisa nodded and touched the communicator in her ear. Liberty, this is Strike Team Alpha. We're in position. Ready fleet for attack on my mark. General Daniel's voice came through with a burst of static. Understood, Alpha. Fleet standing by. New wave of Zeveran soldiers pushed into the room. Their movements more coordinated than before. The aliens were adapting, learning from each engagement with the humans. They're getting better, Lisa muttered, firing precise shots that dropped 2 Zeverans. We're running out of time. John tossed his last modified grenade, disrupting the aliens' neural links temporarily. Make that 30 seconds. Kate's hands flew over the console. Almost there. Got it. The blue glow pulsed erratically, then dimmed. Throughout the massive ship, systems flickered and reset. What did you do? Lisa asked. Kate grinned. Introduced a little chaos into their perfect system. Random variables. Unpredictable power fluctuations. Nothing permanent, but enough to disrupt their coordination for about 10 minutes. That's our window, Lisa said. She activated her communicator again. Liberty, execute attack plan Delta, now. Admiral Krell stumbled as the ship lurched beneath him. The bridge was in chaos. Displays flickering on and off, officers shouting in confusion. Status report, he demanded. His second-in-command struggled to make sense of the fragmented data. The central core has been compromised, Admiral. The humans have introduced some kind of virus into our systems. Our neural network is experiencing randomness. Randomness? Krell repeated, the word feeling wrong in his mouth. The Zeveran mind craved order, pattern, predictability. Fleet coordination is down, the tactical officer reported. Ships are operating individually without central guidance. Outside the viewport, Krell could see his perfect formation breaking apart as each ship lost connection to the hive mind. Some captains maintained position, while others moved to defend against perceived threats, creating a disorganized jumble of vessels. And into this chaos came the human fleet. Unlike their previous attack, the humans now moved with perfect coordination. Their ships formed precise attack patterns, targeting specific weaknesses in the Zeveran formation. Without the hive mind to coordinate a response, the alien vessels were vulnerable. They've turned our strength against us, Krell realized. When we were coordinated, they fought with chaos. Now that we're in chaos, they fight with coordination. A massive explosion rocked the flagship as a human missile found its mark. Warning alarms blared across the bridge. Admiral, we must retreat, his second-in-command urged. We can regroup in the outer system and— No, Krell interrupted. First, we deal with the humans on our ship. Lisa checked the small device in her hand. 3 minutes until the neural network resets. We need to move. The Pantheon team had fought their way out of the core room and was making their way back toward their stolen ship. 2 of their members had been wounded, but none killed, a testament to their enhanced abilities. "Something's wrong," John said suddenly, holding up his hand to stop the group. "Listen." The corridor ahead had gone silent. No sounds of approaching troops, no alarms, just silence. "Trap," Lisa said. The team immediately shifted formation, taking defensive positions along the walls. A voice echoed through the corridor, speaking in perfect English. "I am Admiral Krell, commander of this vessel. You have caused significant damage to my ship and fleet. Impressive for primitives." "Thanks," Lisa called back. "We aim to please." "You are trapped," Krell continued. "All escape routes are sealed. Surrender now and I will spare your lives for study." Lisa exchanged glances with her team. They had anticipated this possibility. "What do you think, Admiral?" she replied. "What would you do in our position?" There was a pause. "I would fight to the death. It is the honorable path." "See, that's where humans and Zeverans differ," Lisa said, slowly reaching into her pack. "When faced with no good options, we make new ones." She pulled out a small, cylindrical device, a modified Zeveran power cell that Kate had reprogrammed during their mission. "We're not going to surrender," Lisa continued, keeping Krell talking while John and Kate prepared their equipment. "And we're not going to die here." "Then you have no options left," Krell replied. Lisa smiled. "We always have options." She activated the device, which began emitting a high-pitched whine. At the same moment, Kate triggered a program on her tablet, and the ship's emergency systems activated. Sprinklers in the ceiling released fire suppressant, filling the corridor with thick fog. "Now," Lisa ordered. The Pantheon soldiers activated their modified shields, technology they had adapted from Zeveran designs. The shields created a protective bubble around them as Lisa threw the power cell against the corridor wall. The explosion tore through the metal, creating a jagged hole that opened directly into space. The violent decompression sucked everything, not secured out into the vacuum, including the soldiers protected in their shield bubbles. "Liberty, we need pickup," Lisa shouted into her communicator as they tumbled away from the flagship. "Emergency Protocol 7. Within moments, small human craft appeared, specially designed for space rescue operations. They intercepted the drifting soldiers, pulling them to safety. Admiral Krell watched in disbelief as the humans escaped. "They blew a hole in my ship to escape into space?" "It appears so, Admiral," his second-in-command replied, equally stunned. Their small vessels were waiting. They planned this. Krell turned away from the viewport, his mind struggling to comprehend the humans' tactics. They defied all logic, all patterns he had ever encountered in centuries of warfare. Another explosion rocked the ship. The fleet battle was not going well. Without proper coordination, the Zeveran vessels were falling one by one to the precisely targeted human attacks. "Admiral," the tactical officer called out, "we've lost 30% of our fleet. The neural network is still not fully operational." For the first time in his long life, Admiral Krell made a decision based not on data or probability, but on instinct, a very human trait. "Signal all vessels," he ordered. "Full retreat. We're leaving." This system, his officers stared in shock. The Zeveran Empire had never retreated from a conquest. "Admiral, the Emperor will—" "The Emperor is not here," Krell cut him off. "He has not seen what these humans can do. Signal the retreat." From the bridge of the Liberty, General Daniels watched as the Zeveran fleet broke formation and accelerated away from Earth. "They're running," he said in wonder. Lisa nodded, her combat suit still smoking from the emergency space extraction. "They don't understand us. And what you don't understand, you fear." "Will they come back?" Admiral Willis asked. "Eventually," John replied. "But next time, we'll be ready." Through the viewport, they could see the remains of the battle. Human ships damaged but victorious, celebrating their unexpected triumph. The orbital defense platforms, many modified by Pantheon soldiers in ways their designers never intended, still standing guard. "This was just the beginning," Lisa said quietly. They'll return with a larger fleet, new tactics, and we'll have new surprises for them, General Daniels assured her. The other nations are already sending their best candidates for the Pantheon program. We'll have hundreds of enhanced soldiers ready next time, not just 50. Lisa looked out at Earth, peaceful and blue below them. The planet had faced its first interstellar threat and survived, not through superior technology or numbers, but through the quintessentially human traits of unpredictability, creativity, and a willingness to break the rules. Victory had seemed certain to the Zeverans, until they met humans. You know why we won, don't you? Lisa asked John as they watched the last alien ships disappear into the distance. Because we're too stubborn to die? He suggested with a small smile. Lisa shook her head. Because throughout our history, we've fought countless wars against enemies who think like we do. We understand both order and chaos. The Zeverans only understand order. Human unpredictability, Kate added, joining them. Our greatest strength. As Earth celebrated below, the Pantheon soldiers quietly prepared for the battles to come. The Zeverans would return, and next time they wouldn't underestimate humanity. But next time humanity would be ready. The war had just begun.